It looks like a lot of unshackled women in this place. Let me thank you so very much for the invitation. And as well, it was good to see my dear friend, Congresswoman Love, because we have co-sponsored bills together. And therefore, it is evidence that criminal justice is nonpartisan and bipartisan. I want to... and pain can be felt everywhere. So if we all understand the pain of incarceration, we can put aside any differences and come together to be problem solvers. I'm delighted to be invited, and I thank Holly Harris of the Justice Action Network. I thank my good friends at the Brennan Center for Justice. I just saw them in the hallway for the great work that they're doing. And I thank Google and the other corporate sponsors. What an excellent interview. Thank you so very much. I'll volunteer the next time. But you did an excellent job, and I thank you for that. So it is my task to get you to put on your running shoes, not even spend time tying them up, but really bursting out of this door and saying, "Send me." And that is the philosophy that I begin these remarks. That is somewhat of a biblical phrase, but I've heard it said by many who have been major speakers at great events, and they have said that when the nation needs you, when a cause needs you, it is the question of each and every one of us, patriots that are in this room, to be able not to be asked, but simply to say, "Send me." Send me into battle, send me to be able to help make a difference, send me to be able to help those who are most vulnerable. We know that over the last 2 weeks, our friends in Chicago have experienced a dastardly exposure to violence. And I know that we're talking about women incarcerated, unshackled, but I could not come to the podium and not mention the hundreds that were killed over the 4th of July holiday. I think 100, not killed, but gun violence, and then over this last weekend, some 50 plus, 11 dead in Chicago. An example maybe of other cities may not be as pronounced as Chicago, but every one of us know that we've experienced and seen violence. Well, incarceration of mothers is violence. And the increasing numbers that women are facing with violence is, of course, a dastardly number. Let me share with you that over 1 million women are incarcerated. 40% of the criminal convictions of women are drug-related. 92% of women in prisons have been battered and abused, and women of color are overrepresented in the prison. Many of us have come to experience the incarceration of women by the reality show The Color of Black is Orange, a very probative, or whatever the other name of it is. Tell me, did I get it right? Orange is Black, all right. Tells you that I look at it from the eyes of all of you. But you got what I was saying. It is correlated. In any event, that means that we do have issues that we should be concerned of. So I'm going to do an announcement. My first announcement is that the Criminal Justice Subcommittee will hold another hearing on the issue of juvenile justice. It's open. It is a hearing, but it will be on this coming Thursday, if you happen to have the available time, at 10 a.m. in the morning in room 2141. Of course, there's no charge to come through the federal building. Your capital belongs to all of you. 10 a.m. The title is Gangs in Our Communities, Drugs, Human Trafficking, and Violence. You know that women are wrapped up in that. Now, the witnesses will include, some of the gentlemen wanted to offer, law enforcement officers. We have a great deal of respect for law enforcement officers, individuals who've dealt with drugs. The witness that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee will be offering is Dr. Slutkin. You must Google him, who heads the organization Cure Violence. He's flying in from Chicago to talk about the disease of violence and how we can confront it and why we should not be subjecting ourselves to the only way of dealing with these terrible issues is lock them up. And so I think he will be an extraordinary, different voice. I know when I first heard him, I was more than impressed by his enthusiasm that he's going to cure violence. And I would encourage you, if you could, to come and hear whether he's going to cure violence, but I wanted to have a provocative statement in contrast to good works, but also to recognize there are other things that we could be doing. So let me quickly say to you that there are solutions, and there's help, and there should be help for women who are incarcerated. It came to my attention of the impact that happens to the many women who are found to be pregnant when they become incarcerated and wind up giving in birth while they're incarcerated, and the treatment of the old days and the most recent days that separates this mother and child, that breaks this bond, that takes this baby from the arms of this mother, which immediately condemns that mother as being bad. The mother has circumstances. I do not call her bad. I do not call her someone who is not able to be, in essence, in the faith community, redeemed. And so we have a bill called Stop Infant Mortality and Recidivism Reduction Act, which permits the Bureau of Prisons to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the federal prison system for pregnant offenders. It establishes a pilot program of critical stage development nurseries for children born to inmates. We want to do that now. That's part of the criminal justice reform package that looks holistically at all of the people who are incarcerated. The bill's purpose is to reduce preterm birth out of anxiety so that she gets prenatal care, bond with their infants during critical stages, and stop the increased infant mortality rate, which, by the way, the infant mortality rate is highest of mothers having babies born while they're incarcerated. And the separation, sometimes there is a family member, sometimes there's not. It has triggered an enormous amount of support from the National Organization of Women, NAACP, Our Children, International Cure, National WIC Association, Planned Parenthood, Southwest Women's Law Center, and Children's Defense Fund, and I hope all of you. As I listen to the question, what can we do? We can get re-energized and begin to say, send me. Now, let me give you two people that I met personally. Ebony Lawson and her daughter, Michelle. Ebony was incarcerated and pregnant and facing a 3-year. I thought Ebony was in the house. Okay, will you tell I love her? Pregnant and facing a 3-year prison sentence, she joined me when we introduced this bill. Ebony was first denied nursery access, but after an appeal, can you believe it? An appeal to see her baby. She was granted a life-altering opportunity to nurse her child, which, by the way, the bill encourages, watch her first steps, hear her first words, bonded with her child. This proved instrumental in changing the trajectory of their lives. Listening to her daughter was most powerful. Michelle talking about what a difference it made in her life, how self-confident she is, to recognize that one mistake does not end one's life. It fostered a healthy child and a reformed inmate, turned graduate, and 2 productive members of society. This is what we should be doing to either stop women from being incarcerated. Remember what I said, the intervening factors of drugs and also domestic violence are some of the things that create the pathway for women to be incarcerated. So separation from a child creates severe trauma from any parent. There's an increased risk of early infant death, impaired cognitive and social development for children born to incarcerated women. And the Federal Bureau of Prisons current policy dictates that in most cases, incarcerated mothers must hand their children over to friends, family members, or the foster care system. This is not the way to treat families. And I'll just give you these statistics. We could save billions of dollars if we began to embrace people as human beings, as families, and to embrace that mother-child relationship and ultimately that father-child relationship. As you well know, there are programs trying to deal with fathers having engagement with their children. But listen to these numbers, $63 to $70 billion annually. It cost the taxpayers for people incarcerated, $32,000 per inmate, $50,000 to $60,000 annually in some states. And so I would hope as we begin to address this question of mass incarceration, we look at several elements as I begin to close. First of all, I can hear Cory Booker and others that spoke, so I've got all the words that they said. And I echo and say, yeah, send me. I'm ready to go, which is what I want you to be able to do. Because it is right that we work collectively together. I can see the oval big meeting room in the White House with President Obama, number of Republican and Democratic senators, including Senator Lee and Senator Booker, members of the House Judiciary Committee, myself, and other members, Mr. Conyers and others. I think I was, along with Loretta Lynch, one of the few women in the room. And we were all energized that we were going to pass criminal justice reform, and we had passed sentencing reduction. We had brought down mandatory minimums and prison reform and wanted to put a lot of elements to build families so that when people came out, they'd have these skills to go back to their family. And lo and behold, a deadening silence has now fallen, though I would hope and believe that the Judiciary Committee would be receptive to your voices of saying, let's go forward. Let's give something to the administration to sign bipartisan legislation. And let me just say to you, mandatory minimums have been proven not to work. To take away discretion from the judges, in this instance, the federal courts, who have begged us not to do that, and to allow them to make an assessment of what and how that woman should be sentenced. But here's the good news. Not only all of you in this room, but Freedom Works, the American Conservative Union, Generation Opportunity, and Taxpayers Protection Alliance all oppose mandatory minimums. They destroy families. They destroy women. And as you know, the other element is drugs and alcohol. So listen to the Betty Ford Foundation, who's still going strong. While every $1 spent treating addiction saves $4 in other healthcare costs and $7 in criminal justice costs, only 1 in 10 who need treatment gets it, thereby costing the economy $442 billion. So you can imagine when someone of good thinking, let me be very clear, someone who meant well, wants to add mandatory minimums and to put on something called Schedule A all of these drugs that are synthetic. This is the new rage. We know they're devastating. But we have to ask ourselves, is another Schedule A criminalization going to help those who are being victimized? A lot of them are women. Prescription drugs, synthetic drugs, easily accessible drugs, which is one of the reasons I can get this synthetic. It's not yet on the radar screen. So we've got to find ways to intervene, to be able to fight for criminal justice reform, but to not fight the victims of criminal justice reform or criminal justice system, and to be able to embrace them in their lives, and to be able to take this work as a passionate, patriotic work, to be able to get us enthusiastic, put on those running shoes so fast that we're lacing them up as we're running the race. And if we do that, there are women who are now incarcerated today who, though they cannot be eloquent in their voice to say thank you, that you will know as their lives are being reformed, as they are being able to nurse their babies and to bond with their babies and to bond with their toddlers and to make a difference in the life of that toddler and themselves, that our thanks will already come. I am excited about being the first woman to head the Criminal Justice Committee as the ranking member. I hope there'll be an opportunity to continue in that work and to be innovative so that hearings will have non-traditional witnesses who will be sworn and their testimony will be in the records of the United States Congress, saying things differently, having a voice that is different from the traditional, not disrespecting those who have lived the traditional life, but being able to hear from a John St. Germain who came from Haiti and had big eyes and couldn't imagine this big country called America, that he had come to the dreamland but fell upon the streets of Brooklyn. But yet now the young man has written a book as he's gone to the juvenile justice, through the juvenile justice system, come out on the other end, standing up, employed in the juvenile justice reform system, nurturing his own little boy, and able to testify in the United States Congress what it means to invest in people. So I am delighted to have been able to come here today. I skipped some meetings for you because I know that these are the race runners, and I can see that you've got your sneakers on, you've got your Converses on, you've got your Jordans, and I know that I'm behind the times. You've got your Seth and all of those folk shoes on, or maybe you've got Venus or Serena and all of those folk, I'm going to get in trouble. But whoever sneakers you have on, don't stop to tie them up. Just get to running the race and save the lives of so many. Thank you.